What's up, boys and girls, Lambo here, and today's video will be a Tryhard Thursday analysis, or in-depth. And it's gonna be a game against Ziggy, where he's gonna go for his 3 Rax Reaper, which is what he does pretty much every game. He also has some proxy barracks sometimes, and some BC rushes into mech, but usually he just goes Mass Reaper. And the reason why I picked this build, because usually my games against Ziggy all go very similarly and they're rather one-sided, but this game actually ended up being pretty close because I made a crucial mistake in the early mid-game. So if you guys are interested to see how to play against Bio from behind, or how to play against 3 Rax Reaper in general, this will be the perfect video for you guys, because I'm gonna explain my army movement later on, my decision making on when you can counterattack, when you can't counterattack. And in the early game I'm gonna run you guys through how to play against the Reapers, which is relatively easy to be honest, but I see most people when they send me replays in with 3 Rax Reaper, or recently in the sub where I saw High Masters player play against 3 Rax Reaper, they do it wrong. So since it's not a meta strategy anymore, I think you guys just knowing what to do in general is nice. I'm going hatch gas pool here, and I actually didn't just rally the drones in, I actually sent an extra drone into gas earlier because I know I'm playing against Ziggy. I sent my first overlord to the other side of the map. It arrives very early on Oxide, the second overlord to check for Marines or SCVs coming from proxy barracks. I see the depot on the low ground, and I already know pretty much that it is 3 Rax Reaper. You can go in here with the overlord as well. Just make sure to see the CC timings, very important. He's going for a I believe a later 3rd Rax than the 3 Rax Reaper that I sometimes lose against. Honestly, the only 3 Rax Reaper I sometimes lose against is from Calazur, and that was on like Nightshade. Here I'm hiding the drone to take a 3rd hatch. The moment the Reaper comes in, the Reaper went a weird path straight into the main base, so that's fine, just pull away the drones. Make sure to not lose any Zerglings. Yep, so you can still just go for this 30 hatch 30 supply 3rd hatchery. I'm going double inject against this, very important, because we want to get out as many Zerglings as possible. We're going up to 25 drones, and after 25 drones you just mass Zerglings pretty much. And with the next Queen Energy we want to make 1 Creep Tumor, and we want to inject the natural. On maps without a ramp usually I believe he would try to attack my natural a little bit longer, so if that happens just try to focus fire single Reapers, always a low HP one. So he has to retreat with it, and then always try to dodge the grenades if possible. Cancelling the hatchery is no big deal at all against this. It's not a very economic opening, the 3 Rax Reaper, so yeah. So we're making around between 20 and 26 Zerglings is usually what I go for. So this game I went for a couple more than usual. And then the moment the speed is done you can try surrounding. And right now I'm just gonna, like, if the Terran is careful, usually they should back off by now. And I'm not trying to greed and go for the surround, even though I'm pretty sure I could have because I overmade links. But the moment you have these 20 Zerglings on the map, the Reapers need to go home. The reason is because he can't reinforce it anymore. He can't reinforce his Reapers, so your Zergling should always be between his Reapers and his base to catch reinforcements, and they always threaten a surround from behind, right? So even if you don't have any extra Zerglings, the Terran players should go home. If they don't, you can make a couple more Zerglings like I did, and you're just gonna have enough to surround the Reapers. But basically the main idea that most people don't have is the moment your speed is done, he can't fight your Zerglings, so he needs to back off or go to some high ground / low ground, and then all you need to do is basically go in between the Reapers and his base. And that's all there is to it. Now you can just drone for free and do whatever you want pretty much. And the Terran has Reapers which are entirely useless later on, because they simply just die to Lingbane, like they're not that much better than Marines or anything, and most Terran players also can't control it. So even if you see that their economy is nice or that they have an early 3rd CC, you don't need to worry about that at all. Do not try to all-in this. Reapers are very good against most all-ins. So unless you're pre-planned with gas pool hatch to go for a Ravager Ling all-in, you should not think of anything aggressive, even if you take a bunch of damage. Definitely don't Ling Bane all-in. Ling Bane all-ins are terrible against this. and instead just go for macro. There's a couple other options for Reapers that I can talk about right now while nothing really is happening. One of them is to go for roaches right away, but then you need to stay on 2 base for a while. The plan of the roach player is to use cut link speed, and then you try to get out 3-4 Ravagers as early as possible, because Ravagers actually outrange Reapers, so you can one-shot Reapers as they approach every time, and then if he commits you should have a couple extra roaches and he's just gonna lose. But with that you need to take a very late 3rd base, so usually you're playing more tech heavy. The other thing you can do is go 2 base Muta with maybe a Spine Crawler or 2, because Reapers are very bad against Spines, so that's the other option. This game I saw he went for early Medivac, so I was like, maybe this is some sort of hellbat. I would push, but I believe he just went to 2 Medivacs with the Reapers. So I didn't actually need to make any extra units, I just thought it was a hellbat attack, to be honest. So already we could have had more drones, but that's okay. As I said, like his units don't really scale. And we have a million queens. So at this moment in time you should know to just go for 60 drones. I actually took my 4th base very late and this was a terrible surround, very mistimed. I feel like half my army was stuck behind the queens there. And so yeah, that was not good. My lair is a little bit too late, like I'm making a bunch of mistakes this game. But overall I'm not too worried here. Our upgrades, our Evo chambers are quite nicely timed. Do I already have one? No, right? Okay, now I'm gonna start now. So they were actually a little bit early. I probably should have taken a 2nd gas earlier as well. By the way, that's probably also a mistake. Now I don't really have any creep to the right side. I'm just gonna take. I'm gonna take this hatchery just in case, pretty much. Losing another queen there, not great. Similar to how you play against 2-on-1, you should always just try to come from behind. So that's what I'm doing right now. If you come from behind, the Medivacs need to. If you come from behind properly, so unlike what I'm doing right here. Even though I do get 3 Reapers in the end. The Medivacs need to pick up right there, because then the units can't run away anymore, so if as long as you focus fire the Medivacs with the queens, you should just kill the Medivacs if they take too long with the loadout. So right now I'm going 6 gas Spire, because the reason I went for 6 gas is because I could only take my 4th base very late, and right now we're seeing on the minimap that there are 2 Medivacs worth of Marines that are running towards my 3rd base, and I am just not looking at it, to be honest. Like, I have no idea. Now I see it. I saw it 10 seconds without me looking at the minimap, because I was too preoccupied with the Reaper. So now we lose our 3rd hatch, and that's obviously really bad. So now we're pretty far behind. Like, so far I haven't played even close to perfect. He did a good job with the crew spread denial. And our 4th base was already late, and now we're basically 2 base against a 3 base Terran. So if we're gonna look at this in the replay later on, before this happened we were in a good position. After this happened we were in a terrible position. So now that we're behind and we're playing Lingbane Muta, the first thing that we gotta make sure of is that we make extra army right now. Making extra drones doesn't make any sense, because we don't have anywhere for these drones to go. So I'm just making army right now, and then the way you can come back is either with a good engagement, good defensive engagement, good surround, or if your opponent isn't quite split yet, and that's when you engage, or the tanks are unsieged, something like that. For which you need a lot of army, or, and here I also lost a bunch of army, which was bad, without really looking at it. Or the other thing, if you overmake army, is you can also try to go for counterattacks, which I really didn't feel like I could, because I was already really far behind, and he already was on the map. If it's not for the second fact, you're being really far behind doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go for counterattacks, because sometimes it buys you more time, which is also nice. But right now I'm pretty sure we're down like 30 supply and he's already on the map, 30-40 supply maybe even. So this is going really poorly for us. If you're playing against these tank pushes, then you need to make sure to get a good engagement. So what we want to do is we want to tank with the queens. We want to come in from multiple angles, and right now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to delay the actual fight. I'm trying to make him stim as much as possible. I always fake disengage with the banelings, and the queens can sometimes pick off a couple of marines. And now is kind of when I felt like, okay, maybe now I can actually take the fight. The reason is because I didn't see the Marine count grow for a while. I thought, okay, he didn't just rally push. So now before the extra rally comes, I should probably just go for it. I make sure to move command the main links while this is going on. I even hold position them there close to the tanks because the Marines were just running without actually firing and we were getting very far off creep. And the focused fire with the mutas obviously on the tanks, the Zerglings mostly A-moved. And overall that was a good cleanup. We're still pretty far behind since we're just playing basically off 66 drones up until just now where I start to make a couple of extra ones. And now the moment this also happens, we're gonna start counterattacking with the mutas. Because I need to do something. You can't just do nothing and expect to come back unless you're basically praying that your opponent is gonna mess up his micro. And now he actually does mess up a little bit there, is forced to pick up, and he doesn't have any AoE here, so I managed to defend that barely there, and we're gonna start doing some damage as well with the mutas at the same time. No turrets here, the turrets in the natural not in position. His main base is also full energy, by the way, which I just now noticed. So this is just pretty much about speed, but you should mainly focus on the muta part at this point. So right now, for example, microing the mutas has higher priority than creep spread, injects, and a lot of other things, because right now we can't even spend our money, or we can easily spend our money, I'm pretty sure, on extra mutas, even if we would like larva right now, considering our gas bank. So we don't need to worry about the injects as much, but since we killed most of his reinforcements with the mutas, we knew we could do extra damage there, and that was really good. That's what basically kept us alive in this game. So now I'm feeling pretty confident again. What I did not know is that he actually had a super early forward base this game as well. So we were still not quite in the greatest position yet. So now we're gonna go for a Ling run by, or we're gonna attempt a Ling run by. The moment we see he moves out. Oxide is a very short map, so the run by very often hits just at the same time as the Terran hits, which isn't great. Usually you would rather just fight in the middle of the map, but it's not always possible. Or rather you would let the run by go in as he's in the middle of the map, so he can't actually attack, especially if he's ahead. And then very often they're just gonna run back because they don't have the multitasking to look at two places at once. And now I see that there's a CC here already. This is actually a planetary. It's a little bit hard for me to tell with this skin. I know now how to, but I didn't always before. So now we're running away. Our mutas are preparing a little bit here, not gonna lie. There's no way I'm going hive in this game, by the way. I barely can max out. Well, I can't really even max out. So, in case you guys are wondering why I'm not going hive, is because this is a game where I'm behind and I simply cannot afford it. So, like, if I don't spend all my money here on my units, like, imagine I would try to start 3-3 right now. That's basically all the bindings that I have. I wouldn't have them right now. And that's why we're just going for Mass Ling Bane, because I know my opponent is also very aggressive. In a game where you're behind and you're playing Ling Bane Muta, I think it's best to just stay on 2-2 and try making stuff happen with multi-prong. And like, if your opponent just does nothing and you start approaching maxed out supply and you realize your opponent is very passive, you can start throwing down an infestation pit and then maybe a hive. But in a game like this, it's not very good to go hive, honestly, because whenever you actually start it 3-3, you're just gonna be way down in supply and lose the fight because of it. And then your 3-3 is not even done anytime soon, so usually the game is decided before or without 3-3, and more often than not it will lose you games in these scenarios. This is one of the most common like Twitch chat GM stuff, is when they tell the pro gamers, man, he just stayed on tier 2 forever. That was so bad, but actually it was absolutely necessary to stay there. As you can see, I barely ever max out this game. Even now, I think it's still not that great to go into a hive. Like, it might completely kill the momentum. Hive itself is not that expensive, and the infestation pit itself, but it doesn't do anything for you. It's by itself. You also need to start the upgrades, and they take a while. So we're still just on Ling Bane Muta. Right now I didn't really plan on doing anything until he actually takes a 5th base, which is when you can start splitting up your army. And usually the best move to do, especially if you think you're playing against F2 Terrans, is you split up your army. And for example, one move you could do against the Terrans, if he would just take his 5th base and not move out ever, is I would try to fly into the behind the 4th base into the main with the Muta, so I force some army there. And then I would try to kill the planetary on the left, so then he's looking there, and then I would try to have, like, basically my ground army split into on the left side and on the right. If he has something on the left, I just go back with that. I start attacking the 5th base with Ling Bane on the right side and come back with the Mutas to either deter or help the main army. Since the Zerg army is very quick, it's very, very easy for the Terran to fall apart there. Most Terrans do play with the F2 or 1A around at the very least, so... So now we're setting it up now that he completely slowed down. Now I just try to kill this planetary, which is the biggest part of his income. I try to explode on both the turrets and the planetary here to gain max value, and I thought I could kill the Thors here, but actually a lot of Marines showed up, so this was a very bad decision by me to go in there with the Mutas. If it was just the initial units that I saw, it was probably fine, but and it ended up not being good. And now my Mutas are low HP, so now I can't fight. I want to delay this again for as much as possible. I see there's a sensor tower, so he does have a 5th base by now. I'm sending some Zerglings around to try and cancel this new base. Very often they're just gonna remake a CC on location, so just shift clicking some units around. After you kill the planetary, will very often kill SCVs that still mine there or try to mine there, like when they just keep gathering their minerals and they don't actually actively get moved. But now we just try to go for the big engagement with some magic boxing with the Mutas, move commanding with the Banelings. Always try to move command forward at least the first part of the army that runs in, so it doesn't stack with the rest of the units. So what that means is if the Zerglings that run in first, if you just A-move them, they start attacking the first units, which means your Zerglings are gonna be bunched up there and then the Widow Mines will connect there, so... Yeah, we ended up winning here because we took pretty decent trades, pretty decent army fights. You can see that I still don't have a gas bank. I did start the hive because the game super slowed down, but the decision to not go for a hive there I think was very good. And in the end, like this was a very scary game, honestly, because I don't think I lost against Ziggy in a while, and it's always embarrassing to lose against Rax Reaper, but I really just didn't look at my minimap there. So you guys can see right now that the supply is even, but my opponent doesn't have a lot of production, and he doesn't have great tech, so he doesn't have any Widow Mines, no second factory, no 2-2 or anything. So we're in a fine position. And then this just happens, he kills a couple of drones for free, plus an entire hatchery. So yeah, there was a bunch of panic. But in general, the reason I wanted to show this is honestly just to show you guys a replay of Reapers. And since the game actually got close, that's even better, because there's very little games that actually get close where he starts with the 3x Reaper. So just make sure to make a bunch of links at first with your first 2 injects, and after that go in between the Reapers and his base. If you think your opponent will still commit, you can try to go for surrounds and make a couple of extra Zerglings. If the Reapers stay where you are, especially once your Zergling speed is done, you can always try to go for a fight, because he's gonna have like 6 Reapers at best against like 24 speedlings. So even with perfect micro, I'm pretty sure the Zerg is supposed to just kill that with a surround. You can see here how far behind I was, by the way, in supply. I'm behind 30 supply. And my opponent has a 4th base as well, so that was not a good position for us. By the way, I started +2 melee here before +2 care base. That's a mistake. That's just how broke I was. I probably tried to start both, but then couldn't. And yeah, we just tried our best. Honestly, the only thing that kept us in the game was this Muta counterattack. That was super clutch. So even if you're dying, sometimes it's the best to go for counterattacks. And do damage, because if I just don't do anything, like I would have gone for counterattacks either way. If it wasn't Mutas, it would have been Zerglings. If you do not go for these counterattacks at all, you're especially against Terran, you're just gonna end up trading at the very, very least. Even if the Terran is a potato, he's gonna trade evenly, or he should. So unless you're like gold Deke and they can't micro at all against banelings, or you can just come back with a bit better macro. I think having counter attacks is very important in these scenarios. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what kind of what matchup you would like in the next Tryhard Thursday. I can cover any of the three. I think we had 2 ZVPs and now 2 ZvTs. I don't really get any Zergs on the ladder, so it's maybe hard to get a ZvZ, but if you guys really want, maybe I can play custom games with Sort of or something for that cost. And yeah, make sure to subscribe, click the bell, leave a comment if you liked it, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.